Down, 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 down. Oh, Power Rangers, so good. Hey, everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez. I'm coming at you today with a Omi Homie number 89 show. Tariffs and trade wars, how they might affect Omi. A bloody day for crypto. Is it over? Everyone say hello to my co-host, Crypto Rain. What's up, Crypto Rain?
What's going on, guys?
Hello, Dashi. We love Dashi. We have it's been a crazy couple of days here. What did we have last week? Last week was the 13th, and this week, so we are more than halfway through the first month of the year, and phone's blowing up about Canadian forces are planning for a supposed U.S. attack, and well, that is redonkulous. All right. Anyway, they ran simulations on it in Canada. A buddy of mine from Canada sent that to me. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that's affecting crypto, a lot of which very negatively. In the short term, we had over the past couple days, Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, pull support from the crypto bill because they had banks. I think my friend Perry Ann, she'll be on the pod. We should get her on, because she's head at the Boring company. No, not Perry and Boring. Head of the. Let me find it real quick. Digital Chamber of Commerce. Digital Chamber, 38,000 followers over on X. At the front lines of policy making for crypto. Anyway, she posted something about how banks earn about 5.7% risk-free at the Fed, and then they pay you 0.1 to 0.5% on savings. That spread is policy-enabled. The yield goes to banks, not to you. Since 2008, the banks have been paid trillions in interest on reserves, funds that otherwise could have reduced the federal deficit. Now, those same banks are trying to kill the market structure bill so that crypto companies can't pay you interest on stablecoins. She says this is not about safety. It's about preserving a monopoly on yield. And then she also goes and says that banks are getting paid about $300 million per day on interest while actively working to block you from earning yield on stablecoins. And that's why the market structure bill was held up. That's why Brian Armstrong pulled support from it. And then Trump had mentioned, I guess he kind of put his foot down a little bit, flexed his muscles at the end of the day. This is my bill. It's not yours. And he said that to both Brian Armstrong and the banks. And they are going to try to negotiate a way in which they pay less out in rewards for stables, but they are going to able to pay something. And that's the last we heard of it. Unless you have any news more recent than that. I just want your opinions on all that.
Yeah, I'd love to take away the monopoly on yields that banks are trying to put in there. Like right now, there isn't, right? You can earn money on your Coinbase, and it should be market on your Coinbase, say USDC, should be market driven. And it's like banks don't want the competition. So that's why they're trying to insert in there that. Man, I don't like it. I don't like that. I heard where it's at too. They want to default every crypto as a security unless, see, this is where regulators like to have the power to say no, because all the power comes in no. So you have to win them to yes. So by default, everything's a security, and then you have to prove why you're not. They love that power because then you have to lobby, spend lots of money in lobbying to get to yes. The default answer should be yes, unless you're like a convicted criminal and stuff. So, but they don't like that because there's not much power. Now, my understanding is a lot of this crappy crap came in after the Senate Banking Committee was working on it for a while. And who is in the Senate Banking Committee? Elizabeth Warren has a lot of power there and a lot of massive donations from banks. And that's why she's been trying to kill crypto overall. Yeah, I think banks need to innovate, be part of it, or go by the wayside. And they don't want to have to compete. And this goes back to like the 1990s when internet was coming around, voice over internet protocol, and AT&T is like, oh no, poor us. Phone lines aren't going to be able to be repaired because we won't be able to afford it. And we need to have all these regulations, and you need to protect our monopoly on long distance calls. but the regulators did not protect their monopoly. And guess what? AT&T is still around today. They just don't have these locked in monopolistic profits like they used to. And so I hope that stuff comes out. I hate to see it. I swear, it feels like things have been jerry-rigged a little bit to bring the crypto markets down so much. So all the crypto people will be so hungry just for something to pass. And then they put a whole bunch of poison in it. I'd rather wait for a better bill. Sure, I want crypto to go crazy as much as anyone does, but not at the expense of a really bad bill that curtails the long term. And it's like, oh yeah, we can always lobby for that later. Yeah, once you give government a certain amount of power, taking that back isn't very easy and doesn't happen very much.
Never goes well. As a result, and not just that, there's other things happening as well. Yeah, potential war with Iran. You have people close to the Republican Party saying that war would be ridiculous. It's going to be something similar to what happened in Venezuela, where our boys are in and out of there in half a day.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be wild. We get 2 for 2. Then you also have the tariffs, which the Supreme Court has still not yet ruled on whether they are legal or not. And if they are deemed illegal, we might have to give some of that tariff money back. And even though I don't think that's going to happen, that's still a possibility. So Bitcoin's down 4% on the day. ETH is down 7% on the day. The least amount of loser is XRP at down 3.5% on the day. Everywhere else is down crazy. That's in the top 10. Then you have others down 7. Monero's down 17%. Hyperliquid's down 10%. And if you just look at the stuff that's 10% down and over, you just go down the line in the top 100, and there's a few of them. Now, there's a couple of things that are up. Provenance blockchain or hash is up. This video is not sponsored by any of these guys, but just, yeah, very, very bloody day in the markets. And it's because of a combination of all of these things, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of just potential wars, tariff stuff. And again, the stablecoin bill where nobody knows how it's gonna work out. As far as our favorite token over here, OMI, it makes sense that, again, because a lot of stuff in the top 100 are down 10% plus, that brought OMI down with it, down about 8%, but still at 0.001554, still over a $40 million market cap at 42 million. And a lot of the big sells that you have here, some of them do kind of get eaten up. Is this the bottom? I have no idea. This could be just the start, but if I get any more money soon, I don't think this is a bad place for me to DCA. Little by little, give me $100,000. I wouldn't put all 100K into it at once, just because, again, it has the always the chance to go down a little bit more, but I would definitely get some here. What about you, Rain? What are your thoughts on OMI? Is it, you think it's down just because of overall market, or is it down because the floor prices in certain NFTs have gone down, and you have a couple people that had said they want to get out, and that might cause a little bit fear within the VV community? What are your thoughts?
Just overall market, it is really hard to buy at the lows for most people that don't learn to think right? So people that learn to become savage crypto investors, they understand. I'm going to share a chart, a screen, if you can share this. Okay, so this is Cardano during the last bear market, right? And oftentimes in bear markets, there's like a W pattern. This actually even breaks the W pattern. The W pattern usually has a higher low. And we'll look at a lot. So it comes down like this. It comes back up, goes down, actually breaks lower. But then look, it did just fine. Now,
it's like a W in script. They got the little extra thing at the end.
Yeah. How do you think people were feeling right here?
Not good.
Terrible. Oh my gosh. And guess what all the narratives were? No altcoin season. Crypto's not going to happen. Cardano's going to fail. Blah, blah, blah. Now, me and my friends were buying it. And, I picked up some more at 3 cents. I didn't get the bottom where it went to 1.7 cents. But I got lots in this accumulation zone. And, of course, when it was I even like half of it, what I bought at 3 cents. It went to 1.7 cents. And people are like, oh my gosh, you're down another 40%. I was like, yeah. And I wish I had tons of money to buy. And they're like, oh, you're crazy. Crypto's dead. Cardano's dead. It's never going to survive. Well, look, it did just fine. And these panics happen. In fact, let's look at a whole bunch of these panics happening. So this is Definity's price. What are you seeing here? Well, a W up like this, coming back down. It's really stabilized a lot and going in this zone, but generally that's a W pattern. What's it likely going to do? Break to the upside. Another one that's just right in the W pattern. What? Devi. Oh my gosh. What's it doing? Big like this. Okay. Coming back down right near the previous lows right here. It's like right there. Now, maybe it even breaks lower like Cardano did, but there's not going to be a lot of sell pressure here because almost nobody has tokens as low as this to be able to sell. So they will be having to sell at a loss, and that really slows sell pressure when it gets that low. It's below pretty much what almost everyone bought at. And yeah, often these things break from here to the upside with a perfect little W pattern here. Now, maybe it ends up being like Cardano's pattern, that's a less than perfect W pattern that actually does break lower here back in this bear market. But now you think about Cardano, you're like, oh yeah, it's made it and it survived. And that future was very uncertain at this point. And so it felt very risky for most people. It didn't feel very risky for me. Like, I look at Omi right now and people are like, oh my gosh, it's so risky. And you're right, it feels risky to them. I think the risk is relatively low, which is why I love Omi at this price. In short, we don't have the full chart in here because of the token migrating over, but it's just gone lower, 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 had these little pumps, comes back lower. That's what bear markets look like before the blast off. Okay, so this chart hasn't turned around yet, but probably it's pretty close. And sure, like all this turmoil is going on, and the press is always so negative whenever Trump's president. When we're looking back at this is actually during a time when Trump was president. Like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to die in the world, COVID. Oh my hell, and Trump doesn't know what he's doing, and he's the worst president ever, and it's going terrible. Crypto went just fine. And so press is having freakouts about like everything, right? Oh my gosh, Venezuela. It's like, yeah, it was actually quite brilliant. Oh my gosh, Iran. And it's like, okay. So they're at war internally, but they're not like threatening to shoot off nuclear weapons and stuff. And so what the problem is actually a good problem for the world, that maybe the government's pretty susceptible to the crazies being kicked out and hopefully a little less crazy being put in. I don't know. So there's turmoil, the clarity bill. I'm glad Coinbase did what it did, even if it prolongs when the bull run is going to kick off. I'll take that. And in the meantime, you got to do what you're going to do. If you like low prices, it's an amazing time. And if you like high prices, well, it's not that time yet.
There's a little, even in crypto, there's still a little infighting. It's like when you ask a libertarian, hey, do you lean more left or right? Like libertarians tend to not agree with libertarians. Some are anarcho-capitalists, some are a little bit more center. And you have in crypto, Brad Garlinghouse of XRP is all just like, let's just go and get this bill passed. I think partially because from Ripple they just benefit if the bill passed as is. And then you had Charles Hoskinson go live and just say like, hey,
Ripple
listen, this
just fine if it passes. So at this point they're like, I don't care, it doesn't impact us. But it's like, it does impact DeFi. It does impact other crypto companies trying to launch and raise funds, and so it hurts a lot of other companies at this point. I think Ripple's like, you know what, we've already paid our dues, paid $200 million in fighting the SEC, we've done our part, we're ready to go now. So
then you have Charles Hoskinson fighting the good fight. It's like, no, this is not good. This is not the reasons that any of us got started in crypto, including you guys. And, shout out to him. And not just saying that because of what he's doing with Midnight and other places. CoinGecko. So to some of the FUDDers' credit, because just because you have fear, uncertainty, and doubt in many things doesn't mean that you're wrong in all of them. CoinGecko put out a post a couple days ago talking about the number of failed cryptocurrencies by year. In 2021, there were over 2,500 failed cryptos. 2022, 213,000. 2023, 245,000. 2024, 1.3 million. And in 2025, there were over 11.5 million tokens that had failed or gone to zero. No trading volume, rugs, scams, or they could have had companies that just, they just didn't make it because it's hard out there. I don't believe any of what we talk about, but especially OMI, again, because the company is just doing fairly well. I don't know what they need to break even, but in that one Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles drop they had a couple weeks ago, 140K, maybe 150 if you talk about the trading on the secondary market, and then they had the what's that called? What's that AR model they have? Like they had the daily collectible, but then they had the base thing where he can like skateboard or whatever, his diorama, yeah, that's what it's called. And so they made a little bit with that as well. And again, as long as the thesis of the company hasn't changed, I mean, it has, but kind of only for the better. They released VVverse. I had a couple of people that hadn't opened up the app in a while. I'm like, oh, this looks nice. Like they were like surprised, like, because you had people a few years ago that, the app was clunky, it was slow, and the search bar didn't work. And now it just looks genuinely a lot better. Like the first impression is a lot better now than it was 2 years ago. We're doing that too. So I know it's like when you get a dog and they're, like 4 or 6 months old, whatever, like you don't see that dog necessarily grow like every day, but if you don't see him for a couple weeks or a month or two, suddenly like, oh, he got so big. And you don't really notice it because you're there all the time. So every now and then might not be a bad idea to touch grass.
Some of, like, I heard the statistics. One of my community members in my private Discord shared a video of this gal going on and saying, like, oh my gosh, no alt season. There's no alt season going to happen. And this many alt tokens have failed. And it's like, yeah, because you can start an alt with no investment cost and stuff. And so it's like, those aren't legitimate, like, projects. And it's like, just because all these no cost starting a coin, hope it goes to the moon projects that aren't even projects. They're one or two guys in their basement throwing together a coin and trying to, create some TikTok videos about it. Like, that's not a real project. Just because those have failed, then that means good, solid businesses like Digital Collectibles with the top licenses in the world is not going to happen. And it's just stupid. And it's just naive. And like a lot of the problem is people get caught up in the crypto community without realizing this is just business investment in a new technology. And there's lots of shitty investments out there. Like, I had a friend show me a TikTok video and he's like, it's got this guy and he's really excited. And he's like, guess what? Trump went into Venezuela, and because it's about oil and oil is going to be the thing. And BlackRock's talking about tokenizing oil. So buy US OL or whatever, US oil, and it's just a meme coin related to oil. And because oil is going to be tokenized, then that means, and he's like, and it's launching on the same chain that Trump coin launched on, or the last one that Trump talked about, which maybe was Trump coin or something. And that did 4,000x. And so this one's going to do 4,000x. I'm like, total shit garbage. My friend sends it to me. He doesn't know anything about crypto, but this argument of like, it's on the same, he doesn't know enough about crypto to know, yeah, it's on Solana. It's on the same chain that this other one that Trump talked about did so well on. And oil is, the future and da-da. And so therefore you buy US oil coin or whatever it is. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is a total piece of shit from the beginning. And there's so many like that. There's tens of thousands like that. And it's like, oh, because those tens of thousands that have no substance behind it, that don't have a real company, that don't have a real product offering failed, and therefore no altcoin is going to make it. And it's like, that's ridiculous. And the people that are making those arguments, that's cool. They don't understand like business. They came into crypto because that's where all the hype was, because recency bias told them, oh yeah, there's all the action here. I can create a channel talking about where all the action is and get lots of viewers. And then guess what? Markets go down for a while. And then after a while, they're like, man, nothing's happening. Therefore, nothing is going to ever happen. And so therefore, like this particular gal changed the name of her YouTube channel to take crypto off of it. Why? Because she's capitulated, essentially, which is that Cardano chart I showed. That was where capitulation was, and said it's never going to make it. It's never going to survive. Altcoins are dead. The only thing that's going to do well from here, maybe Bitcoin will survive. And it's like, okay, well, Bitcoin did survive and Cardano survived. In fact, tons of alts survived, the ones that had meaningful use cases and not the garbage, and they had enough runway to survive the bear market. They survived and did extremely well. Polygon came out of that, like Solana came out of that. So many of these chains that did so incredible, and so many of these crypto projects that did so incredible came out of that bear market where I'll never be an altcoin season again. So it's like, I hear that and it's like, cool. It's like, I don't let a third grader who barely learned addition, subtraction, multiplication try to teach me about algebra and geometry. It's like, oh, okay, cool, thank you. Pat them on the head. You know, maybe you're right. You know, maybe you should do those other things. I don't think you're ready for multiplication or beyond multiplication. I don't think you're ready for algebra and geometry yet. But go over there and watch how things go over here, and maybe you'll learn a lesson that will help you grow in sophistication level, because it's not there for you yet. You're just always chasing where the action is, and that goes very poorly when you're dealing with investments.
There's a Kuma's asking, I hear that New York Stock Exchange is tokenizing everything via new blockchain. He's asking about Devy, which there is a U.S. stock exchange, or there is a stock exchange that they partnered with. We don't know who it is, whether it's American or not. But that does mean some good things for crypto, because a lot of things are tokenizing, a lot of things are going on, and we have some bullish news throughout the entire market. For example, because of a lot of the deportations that ICE has been doing, you have Ford that has, I think, about 5,000 jobs that are currently open, a bunch of mechanic jobs that are paying well in the six figures. And I think that between that, the injection of liquidity from the Fed, the $2,000 checks that Trump will send out at some point, there's going to be a lot of money hitting the markets. And are people going to spend that responsibly? Probably not. Are they going to put it into crypto? Probably.
Probably.
So these are a couple of things that I see on the horizon.
Wanted to address the Devy thing. So I don't think it's a NASDAQ or not. I don't think it's New York Stock Exchange. But if you think about this, I saw this recent article how a lot of institutions are choosing to build on Hedera versus public blockchains. And one of the things about Hedera is that it is a permission blockchain, just like Devy is. But Devy is much faster. Hedera's just been out a lot longer, Hashgraph. And so if Hedera is getting a bunch of traction with institutions, that's very good for Devy, because a lot of these companies are going to find out that transaction per second and cost matter. So right now it's kind of in the early days, and they're like, yeah, let's try this blockchain. Everybody knows about it. But, you know, Devy's speeds and low transaction costs, and the fact that it's permissionless is built for things like New York Stock Exchange. Are they going to realize it right away? Maybe not. But, you know, if they do have a partnership that goes really well with a stock exchange, people might look over at that and be like, oh, and then you might have a bunch more interest flood that way.
Kuma says apparently the blockchain has 0 settlement time. Oh, for Devy, yeah, it's T plus 0, which is insane. I continue to DCA, Definity, Omi, and Devy in that order. It says Definity will outperform all. Possible that you're right. They have a very low market cap. I think all three of these do insane numbers. Tom had mentioned in the Fiat Telegram that If Fias is very successful, it'll help Devi because it's on that chain. Obviously, if any one of these do really well, I don't know if you see how anal you are with the wallet tracking or on Uniswap, but I check the big buys, and every now and then I see it's like, oh, they listen to Mia Rain because they have Omi, Devi, and Definity in their wallets. And I was like, and there's enough of those where I've seen a big pattern. And as soon as one goes up in any meaningful way, so let's say it's Definity first. Let's say it does a 10 to 20x. There are some people out there that I've seen that have tens of thousands of dollars of it. Once they have a couple $100,000, you think some of that's not going to go into Omi? I don't know. I feel like it might. So you don't even need to have that narrative in order to get a bunch of big buys coming into Omi. Now it's possible that Omi runs first, and then the opposite happens. They might, if Omi does like that 20x first, and then you might see some sell pressure there just so they can get other stuff. But was that 1 in 3 chance that it runs first, 66% chance that it goes second to one of those? I think that'd be cool. I don't know how many other people, and again, then you do have that narrative. Speaking of which, there are other NFT projects out there that are all doing, I mean, not the last 2 days because ETH just took a crap this last week. But prior to that, I've seen a lot of people more bullish on them. Chimpers, Claynosaurs, Moonbird, Bored Apes, all that. Do you have any of those? Or do you have any, no?
No, like Omi for me is just a safer bet. There might be ones that outperform, like VV Collectibles. When I say Omi, I mean VV Collectibles. But like, I feel like VV's digital license collectibles with some of the top brands is a safer bet with still really high potential gains. So like one of the reasons I didn't buy Bored Ape Yacht Club back in 2021 is like Dr. Seth was telling me about it. And I was like, well, it sounds pretty good, but there are 20,000 different NFT projects launching. And this sounds like one of the better ones, but the chances like it's hard to even estimate what the percent chance of odds of it doing well are, because that wasn't the only project he talked to me about. There were a bunch that were popping at the time. And so now we know after the fact that, yeah, it was one of the highest performers out of everything. But like, how did VV do? Well, shoot, the Todd McFarlane Batman did 200x. You could have bought it for 80 gems on the market, and you later could have sold it for 16,000. So it's like, it was just a safer bet being the first Batman on the blockchain than XYZ random one, because Dr. Stuff was actually looking at too. And he bought a bunch of this one, and it had a failure within it that then caused it to not end up doing well, even though a ton of big influencers were buying it and stuff. So I just felt like licenses like Marvel, at the time they didn't have Marvel, but DC and then later Disney and then Marvel, it's just a safer bet for me. And I think the digital collectibles field does incredibly well. So I'd rather take the safer bet that I still think has 50 or 100x potential over like a 1% bet that may do like 3000x or may just go to zero, which is kind of what random NFT projects were at the time.
Yeah. We've had a couple of the numbers on Stacker are a little skewed because I saw like, why are there so many DeLoreans being bought? But it was just one big buy, how they made to like the top 10 list, that somebody bought like the 1980 something DeLorean for like a crazy amount. I was like, oh, okay, that's why. Aside from that, you'd still have stuff that gets bought and sold every day. Partner Statue is always in the top 10. You had Miles Morales that sold for 40 million Omi. So which was that was only about $6,100, and there has been sales of that over 12,000, but still 40 million Omi is really nice. I don't know if you had your pick of, let's say, of grails, because Squeebs had this recently. I knew he was all in on AF15, and he's got like $250,000 worth of AF15s, but he's also got hundreds of thousands of more dollars. He posted this publicly, so anyone can do the math. On a lot of the other grails, and they're all secret rares. Do you go a little hard on the comics, or are you more just a collectibles guy for VV?
I like the comics. I think the digital version of the comics is a really big deal, and especially some of those comics, new and old, that just have good potential to do well. You can get some of the newer ones that have really low mints, like 1,000 mints total, and but like their #1 version of it, and maybe it's a new comic, but you look at it and you're like, I think that's pretty good. And you can buy some of the comics for like $2 or 2 gems, or sometimes 1.5, or sometimes 1 gem. Like that's a bet that, like, it's probably, just as digital comics and collectibles take off, will do well. And if it happens to be one that does exceptionally well, and you buy like 100 of those, and say you spent $110, or you diversified across a bunch of them, and the average return on those is 50x, it's like, okay, you turn $100 into $5,000. I mean, that's amazing. Now, hopefully you found good things to invest more than $100, because $5,000 isn't meaningfully going to change your life, but 50x potential is. And so if you're going all in, or not all in, but I do believe you should only use money you can't afford to lose. And you're able to invest 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000, and then it goes 50x. That starts to meaningfully change your life. Because like one of the problems I run into is a lot of today's generation, like, how do I catch up? Like, housing prices have outdistanced. If you have a house, like, great. And if you don't, you're like, I can't catch up. Wages haven't kept up with housing prices increases. Cars are a lot more expensive than they used to be. Like, how do I catch up, much less get ahead? And it's like, crypto is that avenue. But a lot of people come into crypto and they just start buying like meme coins or whatever else, and they don't know how to research. Like my friend was like going to throw in money in that random meme coin about oil that he didn't know anything about because he listened to a TikTok video. It's like, that's what so many people do. They're like, okay, crypto is the future. And I listened to this video about XYZ oil coin, which has no functionality whatsoever. And, he's ready to throw $50,000 at it because he wants to get further ahead. And it's like, no, like the regular investing principles still apply. You're looking for a strong team. Like, who the hell is leading that oil coin? Nobody knows. Something functional about the coin that's related to the business. Like, what is the use case, or what relevance does this have to it? So good founders, relevance of the token in some form or fashion. And like, what does the business do? Like, the video didn't go into, okay, it's such and such US oil coin, sounds official, but what does the actual business do? Oh, it's just a meme coin. There is no business. Yeah, you didn't say that, and people didn't know to look at it, but this is still early stage business investing is all this is. It's not magic internet money. And sure, you can buy some random meme coin that goes way up, and you can also win the lottery too. It's just your chances are extremely bad. But if you are approaching crypto right, and you understand that you're playing from cycle lows to cycle highs, and we're still in a cycle low for low cap altcoins, and then you hold till all of a sudden it's going crazy, like, that's, in my opinion, the play I'm looking for, because the gains can be remarkable: 50x, 100x, 150x, 200x. And that is life-changing money. And there's never been a better time for that than like crypto. And those who made it rich, most of them that made it rich in the 2017 bull run, that's how they made it rich, was strong fundamental companies with good teams that actually had some kind of use case for their tokens. Same thing in the 2021 run. Those outperformed everything. And I think they will this time too.
So there's things that talk about what can happen, or what should happen, what should not happen, and then what will. If you'd have asked me in 2022, I would have said the odds of hitting 10 cents for OMI in the next bull market would have been a coin flip. But now, 3.5, 4 years later, I think that it definitely still could get there. I wouldn't bet money that it will, but it's because $30 billion market cap's a lot. And I'm not saying that we can't get there. I'm not saying that we justify that, at least not right now. At some point, if we have 100,000 users, and yeah, sure, depending on how much I spend, what goes on. But 100x from here is less than 2 cents. So I think that's definitely still on the table. But obviously, it's been a very long bear market. Say one of your other things pop off, or you just decide to yeet in or ape in. Is $1 billion OMI for you? Is that something that you still want to do, or has the bear market shaken you and be like, that's a lot?
I totally love that, but because I quit my day job in 2021, I would just be moving money around, and there's not something else that's significantly up enough that I would buy and get to $1 billion OMI. So it's like I've got to wait until something runs first. And what's interesting, I was talking to Dr. Stuff about this. Normally you have certain narratives popping off even when things are generally down, but like the last 6 to 8 months, the only narrative I can think of is privacy coins finally went crazy like a month and a half ago. But most narratives haven't been popping off, and it might be some kind of suppression by the banks and some other large whales to get the price way down there, maybe so they could force us to be hungry enough to just accept a bad crypto bill, because maybe then the market can pump. And it's kind of like starving out. If you want to take a castle and it's got the high walls and stuff, starve them out for a while before you then try to take the castle. And so maybe that was institutions and banks that really wanted to get rid of the competition with, DeFi companies and others being able to pay stablecoin or yields on stablecoins, so that we would accept a bad bill. And, thankfully Coinbase pulled their support. Hopefully can hold the line. And shoot, it sucks. We'd love crypto to run. Who knew it was going to be a 5-year cycle instead of a 4-year cycle? But all systems are green. Like what Trump is setting up is going to boom the US economy. You have massive money printing going on. That is going to flood into altcoins more than any other thing. The money supply growth is going to massively power an alt season. And all those people who were calling alt season never going to happen stuff, remember who they were. They don't know what they're talking about. Don't give them your time, because they're just going with whatever the trend is. And you never get ahead by going where everyone is going and going where everyone is thinking. So it's like, it does suck being in my position from the standpoint of, I'm always in a position that everyone says, majority of people say I'm wrong, because when, I was taking profits in the bull market, people were like, you're crazy. It's just going to keep going up. And in a bear market, I'm like, buy. And they're like, it's just going down forever. And I say, buy. And they're like, see, you were wrong. It went down more than you did before. And it's like, look, I started buying Cardano 11 cents. And I went to 9 cents and 7 cents and 5 cents and then 3 cents. I even bottomed at 1.7 cents. And yes, if I had had a magic crystal ball, I would have known to buy it at 1.7 cents to save all my money till that day. And I didn't know that. But was Cardano 11 cents a good deal? Yes. Was Cardano at 9 cents a better deal? Yeah. Cardano at 7 cents was an even better deal, and so on. So it's like, okay, only at these prices, it's an incredible deal. Look, lots of people will pass it up because of recency bias. It feels like it'll never go up, and you'll see that it does. It does just fine. And that markets cycle. What goes up goes down. And what goes down, as long as it survives and has enough financial runway to make it and still be alive, and things do go crazy, then it goes massively up.
There's a lot of people joining this fight. West Virginia just passed a bill to allocate 10% of the state funds to Bitcoin. MicroStrategy purchased another $2 billion worth of Bitcoin, bringing them to over 700,000 in Bitcoin under management, which is absolutely bananas. I think Satoshi is the only one that has more than MicroStrategy. And you saw before, or maybe I don't know how many people saw it, but there was a certain wick on the 1 minute chart where Bitcoin dumped about $1,600, liquidating about $300 million in longs. And then it went down to 87 something, went back up to like 88.5, and has been trading there. But just there's a lot of manipulation. How long does that go on for? I don't know. But I think the overall trend for Bitcoin, I think, continues to go up across a long enough timeline. Does it continue to go down the next couple months? I've no idea. But at some point, unless Michael Saylor and Trump, there's so many of these countries that are buying, like, unless they've all lost their minds, unless they're all taking crazy pills and they're all wrong, and Bitcoin's topped out for good, any dump or tank you see is just temporary. How long is that temporary for? I have no idea. But that's just how I see it.
Well, money supply growth is going crazy, and it's going to continue cascading, right? So they just started quantitative easing not too long ago and pumping money into the market. So it's not, the velocity isn't really hitting yet, but that's coming. And that will pump all asset prices, but particularly altcoins get impacted more than any other sector.
Agreed. In other news, I missed out on a big collectible here. It was there's 3 trophy Pikachus, and the third one is my favorite, the third place one, because he's so chunky and he's just very happy to be involved. He didn't care that he didn't get first. And it was a guy that he had it signed by Arita. He had a little drawing on it as well. 100K. I missed out, and I will probably regret that. I think forever. In your collecting,
buy it from the guy who bought it later on. It's going to cost you a pretty penny higher, but maybe your money. I might. So,
yeah, I might do that because it's so cool. What in your collecting? Mr. MC1 shared a space from like 2022, I think, and there was a bunch of people that were just like, yeah, I wasn't around when the app first came out, but if stuff ever goes down in any meaningful way, everyone on there said that they would go and load up. There are people that are definitely loading up down here. Todd's under $300. What's something that you missed out on that you didn't get when the app first started, but you might get now that stuff's fairly cheap?
Well, I was bummed I didn't get a Marvel Comics #1 secret rare. When I bought a whole bunch that day, that was unfortunate. That's a really good one. I really like, one of my favorites is the Miles Morales secret rare Spider-Man. As far as a collectible, I don't have that drop. I couldn't hit that day. Like, I was hitting the button and didn't get anything and was really disappointed. But that is a grail in my opinion, especially because the mint numbers are so low, and everyone loves the Miles Morales Spider-Man too. He's a little bit thinner and skinnier, you can tell. Like, it's more of a current style of comic character. So, like, I don't know. I think the rising generation, to them, that is Spider-Man. So when that rising generation has tons of money, which they're starting to get at that age, but give another 10 years, that one's a really good grail. Todd McFarlane Batman is an amazing long-term grail. The Ed Rizzo is also a good grail as well, being like the #2 Batman, and just it was the more rare of the two as rated by it. Like, I think that's a really good one. What else? Like Donnie, if you can get a Donnie, like, that's always going to be legendary.
Yeah, that's hard because Donnie's like, there's a buddy of mine that messaged me too. He's like, I really want a Donnie, and it's like, only a few of us are going to care about that because, like, that was the thing to get back in the day, and so many of them are like locked. I'm sure there's a bunch of them that are in accounts that are like locked or whatever. So there's probably even less of them than we think. And I told him this, and was like, I don't know how much people are really going to care. He's like, I don't care what other people think. I just want one. And I was like, okay, fair point. Go and grab one. And how many people does he represent? I want one too. I'm not willing to spend that money for it right now, but I do want one. And yeah, if a windfall comes, I don't know, what's 10 grand for Donnie?
True.
Big flex. The green truck gate. I remember. Yeah, my God. Todd at 285. I should probably get some. This is what I'm worried about. Like the stuff gets so low, and then I just spend all my OMI on stuff. There was a couple of gold logos that were down to like $3,200 or even close to under 3K, and a few of them just got bought up, and now it's 4,600 again. It's like I missed it. I missed the bottom. Partner statue is humbled by the yellow buff.
Yeah, I thought I got a partner statue too. I got the green truck or whatever, but I didn't actually get it. And
Such a tease.
I cried for just like a week. You know, I got over it. I manned up about a week later. Stopped crying.
Something that makes me shed a tear in a good way is that Pudgy Penguins has partnered with Manchester United or Man City over on X, saying that we're excited to announce that they'll be collaborating with Man City on a premium collectible and merch release to bring Pengu to millions of Man City fans around the world. And why I like that is because that's just something that grows the hobby of digital collecting. Are they PFPs? Yes. Does it have anything to do with VV? No, but again, that brings people into the hobby. People that, like in European talk, football, might have never gotten into NFTs. They might think, hey, this little guy's cute. I'll buy him. Their kid buys them. They see an animated short. Like, what is this Pengu? He buys a digital collectible. He learns about MetaMask. He learns whatever. And then he gets excited. What other things can I buy? These things are cool. And then he sees, oh, Darth Vader PFP. Wait, this isn't a PFP. You can put this in AR, you can take a picture with it, and that's how they fall in love. So you have other companies that are advertising for Web3, and that's going to, in a sense, I think, be advertising for VV, because we have they might, and maybe it's not Vader, like maybe it's a cool car, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, again, we have them all. And I think like regardless of how they get brought in, under what IP, they're probably going to search other IP and NFTs. And that's going to lead to VV. So that's why I'm very excited about it. What is your take? Do you think that VV should be trying to keep up with Pudgy Penguins? Or do you think that, no, VV will rise because of the rising tide that Pudgy Penguins brings?
Yeah, it's good that you have strong competitors, because that will bring more people into collecting digital things in general. And the more people that are buying some form of digital collectible, they'll look over and be like, oh, there's this Disney stuff. Oh, there's this Marvel stuff. Oh, they got Batman and some DC comic stuff. Okay, cool.
I was looking at the active wallets from the 6th to the 15th, anywhere between 752 and 925 of active users per day. What I wasn't really recognizing is that that's only people that are buying and selling something. That's not including the people that log on and they let their kids play in the showroom, or they play in the showroom, or they just check, the prices on stuff. Apparently there's actually hundreds or a lot more people that are not necessarily active, because active involves trading. There are people that still log on, but and they're hanging around, but they're not necessarily buying or trading anything, which I think is okay, because they're still interested enough in the app to do stuff like that. If you were CEO of VV for a month, would you try to bring it a mini game? Would you try to bring like pop-up ads? Like what would be the incentive to try to get people to stay on, spend a little money, or have the company make a little money?
I just focus on keep getting good licenses, because time's going to bring the people to you. So they're well positioned. And so I was talking to a guy I've known for 3 decades now, about 3 decades. And he got rich at the age of like 20, 21. He made his first $1 million. And he talked about positioning himself before the wave is coming, positioning himself in the right business as the wave starts coming. Isn't that where VV's at? Like, the wave of people coming into digital collectibles is fine. They don't even have to take all care of, like, they don't need to spend millions of dollars to attract all these people, because crypto going crazy is going to do that. They just need to keep getting the best licenses and the coolest collectibles possible. And that's going to be the incentive, is then people are looking at digital collectibles and say, hey, wow, I like this. So keep doing cool things. Like when they made Wolverines, like mask them on and off, and they make the claws pop out and not. Like, I want them doing cool stuff like that with cool collectibles and making them as cool as possible, because that's what's going to drive the masses, because they're going to come into digital collectibles. The question is, where are they going to come in digital collectibles? And the better licenses they have, with the cooler that the collectibles are, then more people are going to come to the VV app.
I agree. 100,000%. What I would like to see as far as digitals, Lego would be cool. More Funko would be cool. More Figpin would be cool. Walmart.
Imagine if they partnered with Lego and they made like a Minecraft environment, like with Legos, right? And say you have to buy some Lego bricks, like you can get a big, and it has a whole bunch, but you know, then you got to buy 10 cents more for another 1,000 Legos, 10 cents more for another 1,000 Legos. And like just these microtransactions, right? As people are building out these amazing things within their VVverse, like people would do it.
Hell yeah.
So, like, especially if they made it microtransaction-ish like that. It would be great for Lego. It'd be great for the VVverse. And like, then you could build your place in the VVverse with Legos too.
Oh yeah. I was on the app the other day and noticed that Tolkien, the author of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, has a book on there called Lighting Up the Darkness, and it is $33 even to get it off the comics.vv.me website. Why? Well, it's 110 pages, so it's a book, and that's why. It's basically a graphic novel. Only 14 of them had sold at the time. That was last week, so I don't know how many of them have sold since then. But we don't just have comics. We don't just have, like, this is a legit graphic novel. Thought it was really cool. And you could save a couple bucks and get it digitally for $29. But at that point, just pay the extra $3, get the NFT, and maybe you get the secret rare. Who knows? World Above is interesting. They think you're Hank from Breaking Bad. Bro, Hank was so badass. That was such a good show.
I have a little bit more hair than Hank, but not a lot more hair than Hank.
That was so good. If I could watch any one show again for the first time, probably be that one. That was
It's
great.
one of the best of all time. My wife and I are watching what is the CIA one? Started in about 2012 with the girl.
Burn Notice?
No, shoot.
CIA.
I can look it up.
Yeah, I'm curious about the CIA.
It's a really good series. They have like 7 seasons too, so there's plenty to go through. Is my recent?
Yeah, say who's a CIA girl? Started in 2012.
Homeland.
Oh, I heard that was really good.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. So I heard about it from this guy that's former CIA. He went to jail. John Brennan is one of the people that put him in jail for supposedly like leaking secrets, and he did leak some secrets. I think he blew the whistle on some stuff the CIA wasn't supposed to be doing, so they sent him to jail for a few years. And so he got out, and you know, he said they make all kinds of movies on the CIA, but he said that one is the closest to being what working for the CIA is really like. So I was like, oh, interesting. I'd heard about it before, so we started watching that, and it's been cool.
There's speaking of CIA and government stuff, there's a government agency called the Legend Project, where the Air Force, the CIA, defense contractors, and I forget the fourth one. They're all like part of this thing, and they essentially kind of go over and they do recovery elements of crashed unmanned aerial phenomena. Supposedly reverse engineer it. They do all this stuff, and there's some insiders that have like leaked stuff over the years, and there was a documentary that came out last year. The reason I bring it up is because there's a former Bank of England analyst, Helen McCaw, that had written to the bank's governor and Andrew Bailey, saying that Trump is going to disclose that we've had alien contact for years, and that could cause a Bitcoin rush. And because if people no longer believe in the government or the government's fiat, they want to be ready for what type of volatility that could create. And one of the things is that a lot of money goes into Bitcoin. I thought that could be really cool. It was an article that came out yesterday. Yahoo Finance picked it up. Like, there's a lot of people that were talking about it. In your mind, what happens if they say that we've had contact with aliens for years? What happens to Bitcoin? Do people just say like, okay, we're done with the dollar, we're done with our government's lying to us about this? You go in and buy
only
crypto?
If it is like really scary contact that's like verified, that's believable, right? So if they come forward with all this proof and they got these weapons, and there's 2 fleets coming in, that will be here in like 3 years, well, then that would cause some upheaval. It's like, yeah, we could see them on our telescopes, and they're traveling here and they're on their way. But like, short of that, it's like, if they've been in contact with them for forever, like, what does it change our perception of what this world is? But like, does that change our day to day? Not unless they're talking about some doomsday weapon that's going to blow us up or something. Otherwise, it's like, oh, that's fascinating. But if it's some doomsday weapon that can take out countries at a time, it's like, oh, that changes things.
I want to believe. I want them to. I want to see if they have good alien food. 2, I want to see if they can fix my back. 3, I want to believe. I think they're cool. All right, like, let me have this. Magic Pin Collector saying, I'm a bit hesitant about VV right now. We had a couple of secondary TMNT and Street Fighter, but secondary. Hold on. Calling like Michelangelo and Rob like secondary. Like, put some respect on their name. Also, Ken and Ryu, like, these are the main characters. Like, these are not like these random villains that are one-off fights. These are the main characters. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm sorry. Then nothing for 2 weeks. And the next drop is basically half a Samurai Vader. So as far as the nothing for 2 weeks, this was brought up a couple days ago, and after the last, I checked in back in December, or maybe it was November, we had another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle drop, and there was no significant drops for like a few days before and a few days after that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one as well. So I have the sneaking suspicion that maybe one of the stipulations, how we got the license, was that Paramount said maybe you can't have any drops a couple days before, a couple days after from us, because they're a big license. But if you have a cool Star Wars or Mickey Mouse or any type of other drops that are before or after it, and that's sandwiched in between, like, that would take away sales. Like, anyone remembers back in the day, Twilight announced that it would have a movie come out like November 13th, and then Harry Potter announces that their movie's coming out the same day. What does Twilight do? They delay their opening 6 months. Why? Because you don't want to compete with Harry Potter. You're going to not make money that weekend. And I think maybe that's one of the stipulations that happened with Paramount. I could be wrong. I could be dead wrong. But and then talking about basically they're dropping half a Samurai Vader. Yes and no. I mean, this does seem to be meant more for, in case people are wondering what he's talking about. There are a couple of them. One of which is, we go to the editions here. Common. It is a half Vader. It's meant to be like a statue in a showroom or in a house. A white marble Vader, which this one's my favorite. This one it just looks cool. Mm-hmm. And then you have Vader in carbonite, which to my knowledge, I don't think he's ever been in, but that is still cool as heck. I do want a Han in carbonite. Either way, if it's not and apparently it's not Ben in Korea's thing either, because he's turned off by the half Vader. So again, not your cup of tea, not your cup of tea. I still think it'll do pretty well. Ryan, what are your thoughts about everything?
It's not my cup of tea either. I do like the cool color variants like they did with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I thought that was awesome with really high rarity. I love to see that kind of stuff. So, like the Samurai Vader to begin with, I was like, hey, I don't remember watching a single even Star Wars cartoon where there was context around the Samurai Vader. So to have this collectible Samurai Vader, I'm just having a hard time really bonding with it. So then to have a half Samurai Vader, I'm like, man, I'm not going to participate. Looks like a Power Ranger villain.
Sorry, catching up on comments here. Bitcoin bearish market, for real, for real. Thoughts on people trying to appeal to Middle Eastern countries, onboard some oil-rich nations?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, whatever they can do, let's try it. How do we do that? Brainstorm.
So this is just like the wave coming in. Like it's just going to happen as people go crazy for the things that are flex items. So the way they do this, they continue to get super cool IP and making amazing collectibles with that IP, so that when people are focusing on digital collectibles, the Saudi rich or the oil rich nations like Saudi Arabia and stuff, they're rich people are like, oh my gosh, I want that flex item. That's too cool, because many of them studied in the US at US universities and they watched all the movies and stuff. And so look, VV's well positioned with some of those top IPs to have some of the collectibles these guys might be interested in. So keep doing that, because the wave will come in. And I know, like they say, the night is darkest before dawn. Like it feels like it's never going to happen most. You can tell by how many videos on like no altcoin market that like, okay, there's going to be one, because everyone is saying it's not going to happen. Like there's a reason why 95% of people either don't make money at all, lose money, or don't make meaningful money. And it's because like they're always wrong, because they're like, everyone's saying this, so it must be true. And it's not true. So like the wave is coming and it's going to be gigantic. Just keep getting the top IP and putting out cool ass collectibles with it. And the wave is going to be huge. And then you'll ride that wave. And then at that point, it's like, yeah, you'll have a few major people with power over there be doing some social flexes with their VV stuff. And then VV can like retweet that and really highlight that. And then all the other Saudi princes are like, well, shoot, he has, a whole bunch of, Marvel comic #1s. I want to beat his collection. And, then they buy 300 more and like, then the prices go crazy.
Yeah, I think regardless of what we're seeing, some people talking about tariff screw and everything right now, a Supreme Court decision. They haven't made their decision yet. Even if they do rule against, I don't think it'll be the end of altcoins. Will be the end of most of them, sure, because again, most of them would have died anyway, regardless.
Well, most altcoins are crap. So it's like, oh, most altcoins aren't actually backed by a company that's doing something fundamental. So, but I don't know about people. I don't invest in most altcoin projects. I'm like really particular, looking for ones where I can see exactly who the founders are, especially if I can watch videos where they're talking about what the vision is for the company. I understand why them having a token makes sense. And so I'm looking, like most altcoins are completely uninteresting. That's not what we're talking about here. When we're talking about Devi, Definity, Omi, Wan Chain, a whole bunch of other projects that like I'm interested in talking about, they're completely different than XYZ meme oil coin that like, oh, it's launching on the same chain as the last one Trump tweeted about that went 400x up. And it's like, oh, you mean it launched on Solana?
Yeah, that's not the flex people think it is.
Yeah, that's what, because it's easy to launch tokens. All these scammers launch tokens, and like, are they full scammers? I don't know. The problem with investing in meme coins is even if you're right and a big bunch of waves come in on it, most of the project teams are anonymous, and 90% of the time when the token does do well, then they pull the rug on it, and so the founders made money, the anonymous founders you don't know about, and you lost your money even though you're right that the price went way up. So that's not the type of investment we're talking about. We're talking about real companies, real projects that are doing something that makes sense for blockchain. And that's not most altcoins. Most altcoins are shit.
So I have an idea I don't know if this is the right way to go about it. Rising Star Larry, cool guy, been on the podcast. I've been on his show, and he got the Queen G22 on his podcast talking about TMNT. The interview actually is not out yet. I think it's coming out soon. And she's got a respectable 6,900 followers on X. Everyone comment nice down below for the 69. And from what I think, Rising Star Larry connects what he goes to all of these different, very smaller cons, like the very intimate. You might only have a couple hundred people there, but they're like in my experience, who likes anime? What race likes anime the most? Asians and Black people. That happens to be the race that tends to like anime the most in my experience of going to these anime cons. And again, Rising Star Larry, who got the Queen G22 over on the podcast, a lot of who he recruits on the VV app with Spider-Man and all these things, all the cool things we have on the app. There's a lot of other Black people. So Arcturus saying thoughts on VV trying to appeal to Middle Eastern countries. Maybe in the affiliate program, we should reach out to some Middle Eastern people. Getting Rashid Al Farouk, who's got a couple of things on VV. Maybe we should try to reach out to him to give him, roll out the red carpet for him, because that's some epic Arab money, and that's how you do it. I don't know. That's my thoughts. What about you?
It's not time yet. You're generally waiting till the wave comes in. And it's like if you spend and exert all your effort paddling too early when the wave hasn't started coming in, spend all your effort and you didn't catch the wave because you were too early. So it's about time. So as the wave is coming in and Omi's already pumping and everybody starts talking about VV Collectibles, that's when you step on the gas.
I agree. Magic Pin Collector says, Rain, VV already has major IP and has proven that without marketing or advertising, doesn't bring in new users. Even Pokemon wouldn't bring in new users without advertising. I want to pick apart a couple of things with that. We had the girls of Blackpink put on their social medias that they were doing this. So they have like 50 million followers each. I think one of the girls, like Lisa, had like 100 million followers. And they posted the story, Blackpink x VV, Digital Collectibles coming. They posted on their TikTok. You want to know how many users we got from that? A couple hundred. Why didn't that bring in millions of people, Magic Pin Collector? Riddle me that, Batman.
I'll also with you exactly why it doesn't bring in tons of people. And like, one of my admins, we were just talking about like helping people understand the bigger picture. And he asked me this question: what are people missing when it comes to crypto? Why can't they see it? Why aren't they excited? And it really comes down to numbers been going down. And so the truth is, Dr. Stuff is all fair to say, like he's freaking really, really smart. How do you think the conversation when I was trying to talk him into getting into crypto in March of 2020 were going? They want to hear it. Why? Because the trend was all going down, and it seemed to people that aren't paying close attention, and even apparently 95% of people who are, that the number will never stop going down, and they're just wrong. So was it hard to get even Dr. Stuff to listen back then? No, it was impossible. Hard doesn't even begin to describe it. When did he start listening? Well, March of 2021, after my NBA Top Shots had gone up 180x from what I bought it at. So then he could see a track record recently, remember that I had told him about these things, and now it's gone way, way up. And then he got curious. So nobody's curious right now. Why? Because the number hasn't gone up massively. So in other words, the wave's not coming yet. Well, it's coming. They just can't see it yet, and they're not experiencing it yet. And you have to let people miss out on things for people to really kind of get it. When I dealt with investment real estate, I'd call up an investor and be like, hey, yo, I got this house for you for $140,000. It's an amazing deal. It'll probably sell in like 2 days. I need to know in or out. And they're like, let me think about it. So then they'd call me 2 weeks later. Hey, yeah, I'm interested in that house for $140,000. I mean, oh, you're talking about the one that sold 6 hours later? Yeah, that one. Is it still available? No, it sold 6 hours later because it was an amazing deal. Oh, so the next time I called them about a deal, like they jumped all over it because they realized, yeah, like, so Doc at least was able to reference the conversation I had when he wasn't ready to listen. And then all of a sudden he saw some of the stuff I bought go crazy. And then all of a sudden he's all ears and curious and looking into it. So it's like, what can you do to get people curious now? Almost nothing. What can you do to get them to listen? Almost nothing. You got to let time play it. That Bitcoin starts going up, that the money supply growth goes crazy, and then altcoins have 10x. And it's unfortunate you can't get them to listen now, because guess what? They're just going to have to miss out on a whole bunch of the run. You can't change that for them. You can change it for you because you can buy at these prices because you're here. Your curiosity, you've already opened your mind and looked at the new technology and realized, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But you can't change it for them. I'm sorry. I wish there was some magic wand you could wave in front of them and they'd all of a sudden get curious. That's not going to happen. Like, for the most part, it's not going to happen until they've missed the first 10 or 20x. And then they're like, oh my gosh, how do I get in? Here's a $7 million. Let's throw it in. It's like, whoa, you couldn't put 10,000 in before. And now you want to put 7 million? You know, but they kind of are that way, unfortunately.
There's a lot of people do be following others. It's like when people talking about, moronic to look for alts and say most people are followers. I don't know if anyone's ever seen wildebeest or any type of animal run from a lion causing a stampede, and sometimes they throw themselves off a cliff, or they go to a cliff and there's so many people running, following, that it causes like a traffic jam of wildebeest, and like hundreds of them wind up falling off a cliff. And that's what a lot of people do. They see other people saying it's moronic to look for alts, sell your alts, buy into gold now that it's all-time highs of 4,900. They chase something that's already up. Other people follow them, and that's why I don't want to say that's the exact reason poor people exist. That's a multivariate problem, but yeah, that's why people don't make it in crypto.
Well, so people don't learn how to evaluate things for themselves based on their own information. So if the herd isn't going there, they're like, the herd's not going there, so I'm not, it's too risky. And it's like, okay, do you realize that the herd ain't going to get rich? So if you're doing something that all the herd is doing, you're wrong. And all the herd is saying altcoins is never going to happen. Now think about this. I talk about this principle all the time with recency bias. Why are they saying alts are never going to happen? So they look at Bitcoin and they're like, oh, Bitcoin is up from its low. So therefore Bitcoin is safe because of recency bias. And therefore I'm only going to invest in Bitcoin because alts aren't going to happen. Why? Because they look at the charts, and the charts of some alts are still bottoming, right? And so they're like, it's never going to happen. And it's going to happen for the type of alt I'm talking about. And they can't see it. And that's okay. I hope that they remember this and they learn this lesson when alts go crazy and they're like, crap, there's some piece of the puzzle I'm missing. I'm still following what everyone else is telling me and not able to see that though it feels like it's not going to happen now, it did. And it will again, especially when everyone is saying it's not going to happen. You haven't learned how to really get out ahead and not be in the herd with everyone else, because you'll never get rich being in the herd with everyone else. And maybe this isn't for them, and that's okay. Like, I wish this was for everyone, but I realize that not everyone can be in that top 5% because they won't do the work it takes to grow themselves to be in that top 5%. I wish it for everyone, but I can't want it for them more than they want it for themselves. It just doesn't work that way. And so look, I lay out the case. I lead people to water, and tons of people don't drink. Last bear market too, took all these people to water, and they're like, no, oh, Cardano, who wants to talk about that? Oh, this and that. Oh, Polygon, no. It's like, cool, don't have it. Like I got this deal with Devi before they launched their token and everything, right? I called everyone I knew that had like 50,000 plus. Even was able to open it to some members in my community in the private part. And everyone who got in on that made over $1 million, like every single one. Do you know how many people said no? Most of them. And it's like, I think I got about 8 people through that gate, maybe actually indirectly about 12. It's like, okay, cool. Could most people see it? Well, the ones I talked to, a whole bunch of them went through it. You know who I did the worst with? My family. I had one family member do it. The rest of the family, they're like, man, I don't know. Nah, crypto, no, I'm not interested. Too risky. It's like, look, I'm sorry that like these are just what the numbers are. So, I mean, my first mentor, and I was so curious on how to become rich that I thought I just want to learn how the rich people think. So when I found people that were super rich, like I tried to be around them as much as possible because I wanted to learn how they think. My first mentor was worth about $200 million, and he was made most of it through real estate investing. And he taught some free seminars that he taught for free because this was just fun time for him. He didn't even charge. He even bought lunch for people. So not only did he like put on the seminar, he bought lunch for people just because he loved talking about this. He didn't need to make any money from them. He did increase his network through it, that sometimes he was able to partner with some people on it, but he was just doing it for fun. And so I'd go to his things, I'd buy him lunch to be around him. And he taught me this principle. He said, well, I know the quick and easy way to get rich. Find out what 95% of people aren't doing or are doing and do the opposite of them. So it's like, look, it's foregone conclusion by most people in the crypto space that alt season isn't coming. That should tell you something. Foregone conclusion that, oh, Bitcoin is the only safe place. If you're in the crypto community, because of recency bias, because Bitcoin bottomed at 14,000, it's now somewhere floating between mid 80s to like 100,000. And people are like, oh, okay, because of recency bias, Bitcoin is safe. I'm going to invest in that. It's like, look, Bitcoin may top at 150. So at best, if it tops at 150, you might only double your money from here. But some of these altcoins like OMI and stuff, I think have 50x, 100x, 200x potential. And it's cool. Like, great, do Bitcoin, do you. But I just asked you to watch what performs, what doesn't. Remember this conversation. And if you're part of the 5%, you may not get it yet. But if you're part of that 5% that learns over time, because that's one of the commonalities in the 5%, Alex Ramosi talked about it, is pattern recognition. The number one skill you can develop in your life is pattern recognition. That you think, oh, I remember Rain talking about like altcoins, but it was a foregone conclusion. It wasn't going to happen. Everyone was saying that, and yet it did. And specifically the ones he looked at, this one did 30x, this one did 70x, and this one did 2000x or whatever. And it's like, oh, and I put my money in Bitcoin, or I didn't put any money in. Like, cool, you missed that one. Just like the investor, I called up and I'm like, hey, buy this home for 140. It's an amazing deal. And he's like, he just wasn't ready. He had to miss it to learn. Cool. A lot of people got to miss it to learn. Won't impact my future if you don't learn. It doesn't affect me at all. I'm sharing this stuff because I think this game is so damn easy. It just requires patience. Cool. And patience and pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition is easier for those of us that are a little bit on the spectrum, but like anything else, you just have to look at it. When Magic Pin Collector was talking before about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he was talking about, maybe I missed, yeah, like secondary characters, and I was like, freaked out a little bit, being a little silly for a second. I had already looked at that because it came up, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, there have been no, I don't want to say decent drops. There have been no significant drops that people got excited about for a few days before, a few days after TMNT. And it's like, okay, well, that's a one-off. All you have to do is go look at the other one. You just scroll down in the app and see, has this happened before? Now, I know that it's not everyone is going to like care enough to do that, but that's how you have to like work at it. That's how you have to go and see. And it is one thing to go in and to have those good instincts, but again, you can learn those.
So let me address this point. It's like one small tweet from Blackpink isn't really advertising. Vivi clearly didn't spend much on it. True. But let me ask you, how much advertising dollars did Vivi spend in February and March of 2021?
I don't think anything.
Yeah. What? Why did Digital Collectibles? In fact, how much did they spend December 2021 and January 2021 when they absolutely mooned? I don't know. They spent anything. So wait, what? So pattern recognition. It's not about them going out and blowing huge marketing budgets on advertising these. It's about letting the wave come to you. Like, you're just thinking about this the way I feel so many people think about it, but they don't understand the crypto cycle yet. Let the crypto cycle bring the users to you. Just position yourself super well so you can catch the wave. That's what they're doing, and they're doing just fine there. Like, they don't need, with the Blackpink thing, sure. Did you hope it would kick off Digital Collectibles all on its own? Sure, we all would have liked to see that. The chances of that were small, but there was a chance. Did it come together? No, because that alone is not going to do it. What's going to drive people to digital collecting is crypto going crazy. And then people say, oh my gosh, blockchain and cryptographic encryption allows digital collectibles that are verifiable, that the actual licenses that we want are here. Oh my gosh, who knew? And it's like, well, we knew. We've been stacking up, and we're glad you're finally here. But by the way, you know, I'm only willing to sell this for 50 times what I bought it for.
So on the other end of that, let's take a look at who did spend a lot of advertising dollars. And you have Recur, you have Cryptoys, you have Hero. Like, you have people that spent significant amount on KOLs and other stuff. And where are they now? They are in the great.
One of the crypto projects I like, you know, their community was like, you need to do advertising. You need to do advertising. And the project was Meld. So they're like, all right, we're going to take this chance. We're going to spend a whole bunch of money on advertising, get our project out, which then shortened their runway of how long they could survive. And, you know, they thought, well, it'll be fine because probably the bull run will happen in 2025 anyway. So we should be fine. And you know what? They spent all this money in advertising, didn't generate hardly any new users with it because, like, nobody's curiosity is there in the middle of a bear market. So then they ran out of runway and had to close their doors like 7 months ago. And it's like, okay, great. Because they wanted to listen to their community that didn't know what they were talking about, they shortened their runway and crashed and burned into the forest before their plane could really take off. It's like, all right, cool. Has everyone learned that lesson? No, because I still hear that sentiment. And it's like, don't spend all this money on marketing. That comes at expense of how long they can last until the crypto market brings all the users to you, especially on a project like Omi. Omi's a digital collectible thing. Digital collectibles are going to be a thing. Better just have enough runway to survive until that happens and continue to position yourself with the best licenses, which is exactly what they've done. They've got Marvel Comics. If you don't realize how big the digital version of Marvel Comics is going to be, it's going to be gigantic in the future. Why? Because digital collectibles are superior in many ways to physical collectibles. The market is going this way, so don't do anything stupid that shortens your runway so that you crash and burn into the forest before being able to take off the ground because you shorten your runway because people told you to spend money on marketing. Don't do it.
I would also, for anyone listening, the 150 people that are here, that maybe just a lack of knowledge on a couple of these licenses. When you say like secondary TMNT and Street Fighter drops, those were the main characters of them. So again, that is importantly wrong when you phrase that. When you say even Pokemon wouldn't bring in new users without advertising. I don't know if you remember where it was a year and a half ago, maybe, or maybe sometime last year. One of the companies that was helping Pokemon with their in-game trades happened to be like a blockchain company on Sui, and then Sui went up like 30% just from that news. Pokemon didn't advertise it. People had to dig for it. If Pokemon announced or Vivi announced that they would go in and have Pokemon NFTs on there would, I don't know if the servers could handle the amount of people that would rush to Vivi for that. Also, speaking of which, one small tweet from Blackpink isn't really advertising. How much would they normally have to charge for that? Probably in the six figures for it. But again, they didn't just do that. They all posted it on their personal Instagram pages. It's not like here's a Blackpink Instagram and we do this contractually. No, they all personally did it from their personal Instagrams and on TikTok as well. So I feel like you're leaving out a ton of information that is, I think, useful and again, important.
Well, also comparing apples to apples, right? So there's a ton of Pokemon fans that are collectors of like cards and even some NFTs. There's a lot of NFT people that don't have anything on VV. But if all of a sudden they found out Pokemon license did a thing with VV, all of a sudden they would take a bunch of their money and put it into VV. So Blackpink, though, are there a ton of people that are huge Blackpink fans that are in the crypto community that are used to buying collectibles? There was a few. There was a few that's like, I haven't paid attention to VV, but now that they got Blackpink, okay, I'll pay attention to VV. But like only a handful of people like that. Pokemon's a whole different game with that. Huge percentage of people. Like, so it's not comparing apples to apples. Like Blackpink, is it big in like the K-pop in the music thing? Yeah. But in general, how many music people are digital collectible collectors already? So was that all of a sudden going to flip everyone into a digital collectible collector? No. They're like, oh, I have Blackpink, but I don't buy their Blackpink things at the toy store either. So why am I going to buy like a Blackpink thing? Now, introduce a crypto wave where everyone's going crazy for crypto. And then they're like, I love Blackpink. Oh my gosh. And then there's a crypto thing that related to Blackpink. Now I'm in. At that point they'd be in. But that's when the wave is already coming. And look, it feels like the wave's never going to come. I remember talking back about like blockchain gaming. This is like September 2023, right before a really big pump. Blockchain gaming. I had all these people arguing with me. It's like blockchain gaming isn't going to happen until really big games come on. It's like, that's not true. You're just waiting for the narrative to hit and then it'll go crazy. It's like riding a wave. And who knew like a month later, the narrative would hit and all these blockchain gaming projects just went up. If you were just literally positioned in a blockchain gaming thing and did nothing else, you got an automatic 5x. If you just got some relevancies whatsoever, you did a 10 to 15x. And a few of them did 40x. And this is the narrative run within the greater or bear market. Imagine what a narrative run in the greater bull market is going to look like. Way amplified over that. And so like that's how it's going to happen. Digital collectibles goes crazy. Omi's going to go crazy. And like feel free to think you're arguing with me on this. This is amazing. What I'm really good at is pattern recognition. I've been in the investing space for like 25 years now. Like people argued with me in 2019 and 2020 as well. I don't know where any of them are at, but they surely didn't make millions of dollars in 2021. And it's like, look, feel free to disagree with me. You don't have to agree with me at all. Everyone gets to make their own grown-up decisions here. And then just watch and see how it plays out. Like I put all my money on the line during this last bear market. I redeployed it all back into crypto. Why? Because the odds are massively in my favor, way more than most people realize. It's like, cool. Could it go bad? It could. It could go bad. Just like if you have a 99% chance to win on something, you sometimes lose. But it's like the odds are stacked for us. And if you had a chance where you went in and over a 5-year time frame, say you don't know, it's going to be anywhere from 2 years to like a 7-year time frame, but you had an 85% chance to win. And if you won, you would get a 20x on that money. How much would you place on that bet? $5, 500, everything you could that you didn't need for your mortgage and car payment and food.
The crazy ones would even forego that. They'd be like, I'm eating peanut butter and breadcrumbs.
Well, yeah, and that's not bad, eating peanut butter and breadcrumbs during the bear market, because that's called, like, this came from my mentor that's worth $200 million. And he's like, you have every month what you make. How much of what you make do you burn? And I call that your cash burn. And he's like, the more you burn every month, the worse your situation is, because you're burning through it. Like that money is going out the door and you don't have it to expend or to invest. So what your investable income is what you make minus what you're burning. And so like I learned back then, it's like, well, shoot, squeeze your expenses so you have less of a cash burn so that you can feed the assets that will make you rich. The reason I like altcoins is because they are higher risk. We're talking earlier stage projects that haven't really proved themselves yet. And that's why you might have a 20x, 50x, 100x, 200x, or 500x potential. It's like some of them will go out of business. Cool. What if you diversified across 10 of them and 5 of them went out of business And then the other 5 averaged 50x. Well, that means across you did a 25x over, say, a 5-year period. Well, where else are you going to get a 25x over a 5-year period? Where?
Alan makes a good point, saying VV is fine. Can they do better? Sure, but many are just overinvested and going broke, waiting for that 10x. Remember when OMI pumped in August? VV did nothing, but everyone thought differently then. They thought, hey, finally, all of the hard work that they've done is getting recognized. When they went from pretty much where they are now to 0005, they did over 3x. And again, if you want to cherry pick data, Wes, and you're talking about when OMI was at all-time highs in March of 2021, you have to take a look at what Bitcoin was in March of 2021, and that was 44,000, almost 45. So it's doubled, yeah. But again, you can't cherry pick on where Bitcoin was at its low to where it is now, to where OMI was at its high to where it is now. If you want to go in and talk about 2 points, compare them from the exact same dates, or else you're just lying to people.
Well, also, right, that's where things are now. Guess what is really, really typical in the crypto cycle? That Bitcoin goes up earlier, and then everyone becomes so sure that Bitcoin is the only safe place to invest because of recency bias that they sell their alts to buy Bitcoin because Bitcoin's up 5x. It feels so safe, and alts just keep going down. That's so scary. Let me sell all my alts and roll it into Bitcoin. And then alts do 100x and Bitcoin does a 2x from there. But because they're like, oh, it's only done a 2x from where I bought at, they don't end up selling. So they don't even end up making money. They sold their alts at a loss to roll into Bitcoin. Bitcoin doubled. They didn't even sell till it tanked again. And so they ended up being the 95% of people who don't make meaningful money or flat out lose money. They didn't end up being the 5% because they're chasing what everyone else is doing. Cool, do that. By all means, do that. And then learn from it.
So I'll was going to say, okay, Bitcoin doubled, almost down 98%. So I'll do this. For something for fun, if it happens, if OMI is not down here by the time some things happen later this year, if Bitcoin is down, I don't even have to do it. We could just make the thing. Let's say someone buys $1 million worth of Bitcoin later this year. Let's say it even goes down to like 60K, and it might go lower. Who knows? Manu said he's got buys at like 40K. It's like, bro, it's insane. But let's say it goes down there. Let's say I put exactly, we earmark 650-ish, 700K into Bitcoin at that time, which is worth about that, versus the less than 6 figures that I have in OMI because of, the price crash. I would still bet that the amount of money that I put into OMI outperforms Bitcoin, even though it's already down at this point a crazy amount. It's just because Bitcoin, can it do another 3x and go from wherever it is at that point to 200 something thousand? Sure, absolutely. I expect it by at some point to go to $1 million a coin, but it's just the market cap is too big for it to do 100x in any short-term future, whereas OMI's market cap is small enough where it can do that 100x fairly comfortably, and I would just bet that I would have more gains on OMI than I would on Bitcoin as that plays out. I could be wrong, but
you're also making a non-case case. So if anyone here took my course on crypto or even followed my channel for the last 3 years, I've told you that generally in the cycle, Bitcoin runs up first, then it goes to the larger caps, and then it flows into the altcoins. So all you're saying now is that Bitcoin has produced your lower cap altcoins. Oh my gosh. I've been telling you that for 4 years. And you're like, the argument you're inferring is Bitcoin is a better investment. It's like, no, it's an even worse investment now because it's already realized a whole bunch of its gains, and yet altcoins haven't. And if you can't see that, that's cool. You're right in line with 95% of people. And if you're wondering why you struggle to get rich, it's because you don't think any different than the other 95% do. And if you're doing what they do, of course, you're just going to have the same results of them. So it's like, if you can't see that because it's down 98%, that's amazing. and you're thinking that you want to buy Bitcoin because it feels safe because it's 5x up from the bottom, you don't understand buy low, sell high. Cool. All right. So maybe you don't understand that yet. You're probably pretty young still, Wes. Cool. Now is a great time to learn that lesson. See how this cycle plays out for you. But learn that lesson, because if you don't learn that lesson, you'll never make meaningful money through investments. Like, it's hard to have that vision. I call it the golden vision of understanding that things are underpriced when they are actually underpriced. Like, did you buy Bitcoin when it was 14K? I bet you didn't. Why? Because you were just sure it was going to go down to 2K and it was just going to keep going down. Cool. So now you can look back and be like, wow, 14K was the bottom. Didn't see that coming. Now you're looking at Omi and be like, it's 98% down. And it's like, cool, it may not be at the bottom, but it might. If it's not at the bottom, it's probably pretty close. And it's an amazing buy now. And if you can't see that, that's cool. Learn from this cycle. So the next cycle, you'll be prepared. I know people saying there's not going to be a cycle after this. That's what they said in 2020 and 2021 as well. Sure, if it goes up massively this cycle, then what happens after things go up massively? They always crash. So if it goes up massively this cycle, and I think we'll have tons of money come in so that it will, that almost guarantees that a crash will happen. And then you have a bear market to be able to buy low again.
High risk, high reward. Just, discerning which ones are actually risky versus which ones are like, which ones deserve to have that high risk, high reward thing, or which ones are like, hey, we can get the high reward turns, but it's actually not that high risk. Again, that's why we get paid the big bucks.
It's only gone down 98% if you were buying it in like 2021 when it was like going crazy and everyone said it would never go down. So if you've been dollar cost averaging in it, you might even be down like 80%, which it from your first buys. You might be down 50% from your first buys. You might be, if you've been dollar cost averaging in these lows, which is what I suggest. Like when I bought Cardano at 11 cents, I just dipped my toes in at 11 cents. It's like, it might go cheaper. We're solidly in the bear market, but I'm going to buy some. Went to 9 cents. I dipped my toes a little bit more. I started getting really interested at 5 cents, and then 3 cents, I doubled my bag of Cardano because it was a really cheap price. That's what dollar cost average looks like. But one of the challenges, people buy or like altcoins a lot higher than this. Then they never keep buying because they're like, my position's down so much. And you don't realize that's amazing. Okay, yeah, you probably got it at a good deal, but it's even better now. And if you're dollar cost averaging in, you're really lowering your average cost on this so that your returns are higher. Like, who knew it was going to get this cheap? I didn't have a magic crystal ball to know it'd be this cheap. Otherwise, I would have just held off all the money. If I had held off all my money, I'd probably have 3 billion Omi buying it all at this price, maybe even more. I didn't know it'd be this cheap, or I would have. And you can't expect that you would know. How would you? No investor knows. And so your expectations are just way off. You don't understand how this game is really played yet. And that's cool. I mean, why do you think you're here? Why do you think you're hearing these discussions and learning? And some of you, that's okay. You won't agree with me and it'll bounce right off. But you can see how it plays out. And then you'd be like, crap. What did Rain understand that I didn't? And it's like, yeah, exactly. Like, you didn't understand that yet. But like, it's cool. If you're learning it now, you maybe been thinking about investment cycles for maybe 5 years. I've been thinking about them for 25 years. So is it natural that maybe I got this with the crypto thing maybe a little bit faster than you because I had put in lots of work understanding cycles before I even got in crypto? Cool. Learn from some of the things I'm sharing, whether you agree with me or not, so you learn it much faster so that in a few years, you know as much as I did in 25 years. I would love that. Love that for you. Maybe even become better at this. Maybe you make $1 billion in this before I do. Amazing. But what I'm sharing with you isn't new knowledge. I didn't make this shit up. It just comes from observing behavior and what works and what doesn't work, and learning from the 5% what they do and how they think of it, and just copying the crap out of it myself. I didn't make any of these principles up. I just learned them myself and started imitating them. That's why I did good enough in 2021, contrary to most everyone else. So I never had to work again. I could quit my day job, move to a much more expensive city with my family. Cool. might listen to what I'm saying, whether you agree with it or not, and see how it plays out. Cool. Am I all in on this? I'm all in this. Almost all lower or high risk altcoins. Why? Because that's where the money is made. Am I certain the altcoin rally is going to happen? I'm as certain as you can be. Like, we don't know for sure if the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Some meteor we didn't see could crash into the earth and destroy us all. So, the chances are higher than zero that happens. Probably not going to happen, and probably an altcoin season going to come because blockchain and cryptographical encryption allows the internet to do things it could not do before. And Bitcoin is not the only use case. XRP is not the only use case. ETH is not the only use case. There's lots and lots that make sense. One of the ones that really makes sense to me is digital collectibles are superior to physical collectibles in many ways. Not in every way, but in many ways. You can't hold it in your hands and touch it like a Pokemon card that hopefully is behind glass, so you're not actually touching the card. But a Pokemon card, you can actually hold it, which is also a downside because somebody buys it from you. You have to ship it to them, and you hope it to hell that it doesn't get confiscated in the mail system or disappeared in the mail system, or you have to buy really expensive insurance, and the person has to hope you didn't send them a fake. All these problems that digital takes care of.
Yeah, I'll get back into Pokemon, but I'm not getting back into like buying and selling because that's rough. Having to go in, hope the person on the other end's a nice guy, not have to go in and hope that PayPal sides with them when they say, "Oh, the card came in damaged," and they keep the card and they get refunded. It's like, bro, like I'll never do that again. Only in-person deals, and that's if I want to do something, super big and crazy.
Yeah, like Alan gets it. He's like, we play the game. If you want a 1 to 3x, go into Bitcoin, 2 to 5x ETH, 3 to 5x Solana. Like, exactly right. Now, if you're looking for that 10 to 100x play, well, then that's like higher risk altcoins like OMI. And I suggest you learn how to research companies, to look at the founders behind them. Why does blockchain even make sense for what they're doing? Like, I remember this digital Angie's list called You Can or something back in 2017 that launched. They raised a whole bunch of money from their ICO. Their token pumped just because it was 2017 and all altcoins were pumping. And they totally couldn't hardly get more than like 5 users for their thing, because who cares about a block like Angie's list on the blockchain? That doesn't, like, nobody's going to start using that over Angie's list because it's on the blockchain, because it doesn't matter if Angie's list is on the blockchain or not. Like, Angie's list works just fine. Blockchain doesn't bring any actual improvements to it. So therefore they fail. Digital collectibles, though, Randy just told you what it's like to actually sell the physical collectible cards. And it's a freaking nightmare. You can go on the VB marketplace, buy something. You don't even know where the seller is at. They could be in mainland China for all you know. And you bought it and you owned it like that. And you know that you have that mint number and you don't have to worry about it being bent or anything or a fabricated card. You own it and it's yours. And then you instantaneously have the right to sell it as well.
We, 6 hours ago, been reported now, Trump was taking questions from the White House briefing. And he says that he will issue the people of the U.S. a $2,000 dividend payment without congressional approval. Pump that market. Pump it up to get this bread. All right. Rand, any closing thoughts here?
Well, it's an amazing time in the markets. I know so many people don't feel that way. Look, never shut off those feelings. Those feelings are your indicator of when it's actually a good time to buy, because if you're like, I'm so exhausted, this is so boring, crypto's so boring, I hate this, it's probably an amazing time to buy. If you're like, oh my gosh, I got to check the price every day because my portfolio just went up 40x, probably a good time to be selling and definitely not buying. But you will want to be buying then. You will want to be going all in then. And what do you want to do now? You probably woke up this morning and asked yourself if you should sell. Don't turn those emotions off. Just don't do what they say and probably do the opposite. But only on well-researched projects. Don't buy the US oil coin or whatever meme coin. Don't gamble on like memes in general. Like, I recommend you look for well-researched projects with something that blockchain really makes sense for, that has a team that you can watch interviews from them and make sense. And not every well-researched company is even going to succeed. Do they have enough runway and stuff? But your odds go way, way, way up with those over just random crypto projects that some TikTok person was talking about.
Oh yeah. Everyone, thank you for joining. Love that y'all are here every week with us on this journey. And everyone say bye-bye, Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. Until next time.